Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of What Am I Even Doing? I'm Tara Lilly, your host, fractional marketing leader, and today with me is Mark Frye from Creative Occasions and Events, the well-known florist and event florist and designer in Southwest Virginia. Thank you, Mark, for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for overstating that introduction.
I had to do it. We've been friends for so long, and you're so
Absolutely,
well known.
absolutely.
So well known in Southwest Virginia. For those of you who are not familiar from Southwest Virginia, Mark owns Crave Occasions, and they are the florist and event florist and design for weddings and events in Southwest Virginia. He does all of the larger venues, and a lot of brides love coming to Mark as well as corporations. So, Mark, CEO, owner, Crave Occasions, you do a lot of events and florals, right? Kind of tell us about who you are and what you do.
Okay. Well, the shop is actually a full-time flower shop. So creative occasions, we have our daily things that we do for birthdays, anniversaries, sympathy, all those things. But the event piece of what we do is a little bit more than half of our annual revenue. So that really is kind of a key element of our business. And in flower world right now, the shops that are doing well are the shops that are focused on events. And so I'm fortunate that that was one of my focuses a number of years ago. So that kind of helped us navigate some rough patches in the economy when people were not spending their expendable income for flowers. Um, yeah, it's typical for us during the high season to have at least two and sometimes three events per weekend. Um, we really, because of staffing, have to watch that carefully to make sure that we're not overextended. That's a part of maintaining that really good reputation that we have, and how we treat clients. But we have started to kind of expand the geography a little bit so that we are doing a little bit more traveling than we did before. And that's kind of exciting. We're doing some weddings this year in Stanton, Virginia, about an hour and 45 minutes from us. We just came back from Columbia, South Carolina last weekend for a wedding down there. So it's exciting because there are new things that are happening, even as though I've been in this business 30 years. The parameters are changing and the business is expanding, and that's a great thing.
Okay, so you said one thing that I thought was interesting is you made the decision to start doing weddings years ago. So when you started, you didn't actually start Crave Occasions, right? Or take us back to how the beginning happened.
Yeah, years ago, I did start creative occasions from home. And in the floral industry, people who do that are called basement Betties because you work from home, perhaps in your basement. It wasn't my basement actually at the time. And you start the business doing special event work. So, and in the industry today, there are still many event florists who are like basement Betties. They work from home, they have a studio at home in their garage, and they work from there. That's exactly what I did. And that was 30 years ago this past year. About 5 years into that process, I found out that the shop that we're in today was going on the market. The owner was retiring, and a mutual friend knew about it and said, "Should I give them your name?" Yes, of course, that'd be great. And we started the conversation. And so I actually purchased the shop, the building, and the business from her at that time. Um, and frankly, at that time, that was really not something I thought I wanted. I wasn't, I really wanted to focus on the events. That was the reason that I named it Creative Occasions, is because I wanted to focus on special occasions, special events. So coming to a place where we had to do deliveries every day, we had to worry about funeral work and, all those things. I wasn't really sure that that was going to fit sort of the business model that I had for myself. Turns out it was a great thing, and I think that's one of the things that in hindsight, look at this and go, wow, that was just such a great opportunity that really kind of helped solidify the foundation of my business because the first day the phones rang, orders went out, people paid their bills, all those things that new business owners have to worry about. I had that happening. So it was really a good thing. And the former owner contractually stayed on for the first 30 days. She was so cute, obviously an older woman. She would take me out front with when a customer came in, and she said, "Now this is Mark. He's the new owner, and he's going to take really good care of you. And if he doesn't, you call me." So, and she had that kind of rapport and relationship with her clients, which is what I've always wanted to and do have. So it was a really good fit from the beginning.
Oh wow. Okay, so you were working out of their basement then, right? The florist shop.
Um, I was working out of my basement for 5 years. Then I
Okay.
purchased this shop and moved my
Okay.
business into this shop full time. And that was 25 years ago. So total 30 years in business, 25 here in this location.
Wow. Okay. And was that a hard decision to make? Like, I know you mentioned you were hesitant to purchase it. Was it because, like you mentioned, you wanted to go after the events and weddings, but how did you decide finally, like, okay, I'm going to take this leap and do it?
Well, there were all kinds of things that made it hard because my wife and I had two small children at the time. And I was leaving a full time job as a sales
Mm,
rep with a company car, an expense account,
mm,
benefits, bonus checks, all those things. So you put the stability of your family and the finances for your family aside, and you
mhm,
take this leap of faith into something that it's sort of a complete unknown,
mm,
because I had worked the event side of it from home for 5 years, but
mhm.
I had never had a staff before. Never had a real paid staff. So managing people became something I had to figure out.
Mhm.
um, Managing just all sorts of the aspects of running a full-time business were all new issues. So there were a lot of aspects of it, again, which makes it in retrospect good because, like I said, the phone rang the first day, the checks came in, people were calling in orders. So suddenly there was, business to support what we were doing, not only here, but also at home.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a huge benefit of being able to purchase a business because like you mentioned, you already have that established client base. You have that transition where there's already kind of the product fit for that location. So when you purchased Crave or when you purchased the floor shop turn to Crave Occasions, did you always have in mind like I'm going to continue to do the events? I just need to now do the floral orders and that business on the side as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting because the first year and a half that after we purchased the business, we worked under, speaking in terms of legal structure, we worked under Creative Occasions Inc., which was my company name and umbrella, but we operated under the former flower shop's name for the first year and a
Mm,
half. And we
okay.
did that just to kind of maintain a nice, good feeling with the community, oh yes, we're still Open Chains Flower Shop. That's who we are. The owners change, but that's still everything about that the same. In my mind, because this flower shop, when it started, was a very traditional kind of flower shop,
Mm,
had a great reputation, but it was very traditional. And I knew that that's not what I wanted. So
mhm,
right away, we started making changes in kind of the physical space, the way that things were displayed. We definitely maintained and continued the focus on weddings, especially. And that really, I think, it served us well. It was kind of a sort of a dual package, I guess, kind of
mhm,
thing. But because it really is almost like running two different businesses at times.
mm.
The whole event piece runs differently than the daily delivery piece does. Um, so yeah, that's been part of the challenge, but definitely a good thing looking back.
So when you were starting out, either in the basement
Right.
or when you purchased the flower shop, what's one thing that you wish you had done differently, either in either of those chapters? What's one thing you're like, oh, if I had to go back?
100%. I think I would have asked for help more.
Mm,
I think I always felt like that people expected me, and maybe I expected myself, to know all the answers to all the questions.
mm,
And we all know that that's an impossibility. But I also didn't want it to look like a sign of weakness. I didn't want to go, oh, I really need help with this. I'm not sure either how to ask or whom to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think looking back on that, I would have definitely kind of expanded the team of people who helped me, aka bookkeepers, attorneys, lawyer, CPAs, that group of people, because I said, "Oh, I can handle that," and I didn't. It's just some of that. Just it was a big stumble,
Mm-hmm.
and so in looking back, that's definitely something that to new business owners, both of my children own their own businesses now. And I have said to them both, get a team of professional people around you as quick as you can. Lean on them, let them be the professional and help you out. Um, that's one thing I would totally change about the start, the transition.
Yeah, that's so true. It's so hard to sometimes, I know, especially for business owners, and some leaders, it's hard to like let go of that control or admit like I don't know, but it's actually so smart to have people who are skilled or knowledgeable in those areas. Like you mentioned CPA, like 100%, like
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
that's over
Yeah.
my head.
Yeah. I do flowers. I don't do numbers,
Yeah. Yes, exactly. You mentioned, okay, you had a sales role, corporate, cushy job, company car, all that great stuff.
Yeah.
So, what's your advice to someone who is in a nice cushy? When I say cushy, I mean you got a salary, you got the benefits, but going off on your own to start something different. What's your advice for someone who is in that situation?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Lordy. Um, first of all, do your due diligence. I mean, there was a process in buying this business where we had access to their financial records and, reviewed those. And I took them to my CPA at the time and I said, okay, look at this and make sure that I can make my house payment at home, that I can
Mm,
feed my family. All these things are going to happen based on the finances that are existing, as well as me meeting the obligation of buying this business.
mhm,
So, due diligence first. Um, Surround yourself with people who believe in you.
mm,
That's just a key because if you have those negative voices in your head,
mhm.
it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
But you've got to have people who believe in you and who are positive and who support you. And then, thirdly, take the leap of faith.
Mm,
And that's what it is. 100% is a leap of faith. Um, and sometimes it doesn't go well, frankly, but sometimes it does. And really, when I got in flowers to begin with, it's never a business that I really thought could support me or my family. I thought it was going to
mm.
be a nice hobby, and it's like, oh, I'll play with this. I'll do some things for church and friends. Um, but I was wrong about that. It is a business that can support you and that makes me happy and that I get to, come to work every day to do something that I love. So,
Yeah. Oh, I think that's so important to like especially the having the supportive system around you. Like we mentioned having the professionals. There's a circle of professionals you need to help your business, but also like just good people to help support you, right? Because I don't know about you, but sometimes like I don't even meet my own expectations and
oh,
I'm negative myself. I don't need anything else.
that's
I don't
right.
need
That's right. I got enough of that voice in my head. I need somebody, yeah. And certainly in my case, because I was married with a family, my wife was a huge element of that.
Oh,
And from the beginning, she said, you got this. You can do
mhm.
this. You've got what it takes to make this happen. Just do it. Just take the
Oh.
jump. And so that was a huge gift, from her.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And it's funny you mentioned that you when you started you were like, "Oh, this is only gonna be a hobby. Like I'm not gonna make it into like a full-time business, right?" But when I said in the beginning that you are very well known in Southwest Virginia, but now you expanded a lot. I'm saying that from somebody who worked with you in the weddings. I had a wedding photography business for 14 years, and Mark and Crave Occasions were always high in demand. I would have brides that couldn't get you because you'd be booked for their wedding day. So you have this really good reputation. Again, I'm saying that because I know from the brides I've worked with
Thank
you.
you.
What things do you think contributed to the reputation and growth of your business?
Mm. Great question. First of all, I mean, I've always believed that I treat clients the way I want to be treated.
Mm,
So I respond quickly to their questions. Some of the nicest, kindest things that people say about me are that I'm easy to work with.
mm,
And that's really kind of the relationship that I want to foster with clients is that, especially if they're planning a fun event like a wedding, it should not be
mm,
hard. It should be fun. You know, you should be able to engage with somebody who understands your vision, who can take that vision and run with it. So I think that sort of relationship piece is a key element of what has led to our success here. Um, Certainly, the product has led to our success. Another key thing that I hear a lot in reviews is, and in fact, I just got a thank you note from a bride the other day, and she said, it was just so much more than I ever imagined it would be. That's
mm,
what I want to hear every time. You know, we took your vision and yet somehow we made it better.
mm.
What is that old saying? You under promise and over
Oh,
deliver or something
yes.
like that.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know that I, consciously think that every time, but I do want to make sure that we sort of met every expectation from the beginning of the design. Um, we show up on time, we do what we're going to say. And again, I've heard wedding planners say that.
Hmm.
When I know that you're on the team, Mark, I just don't worry about the flowers. I just don't.
Mm,
I don't have to
mm,
think about it because I know you're going to be there, your staff's going to be there, you're going to do what you say you're going to do.
mhm,
So I think all of those are elements that have really helped kind of with the support. And so we get tons of referrals
mm,
from former clients who said, "Oh, Jenny, my daughter got married 2 years ago and used Mark Frye. You should call him because your
mhm.
daughter's getting married now. You want to work with him." And that's the kind of thing you can't buy that.
Right.
So anyway, that I think has been another key element.
That's very, I mean, all that is huge. I feel like a lot of businesses get stuck on acquisition, acquisition, acquisition. I think you get more customers, more customers, more customers. But the ones that you have, like the ones that you've worked hard to get, whether it's word of mouth or through marketing, like those you treat really well. Those you have a really, make sure you have a good experience, make sure you have a good offboarding or closing experience with them, and then open up that opportunity for referrals. Because, like for you, your business is great where you have the events, but you have the floral business. So even though they work through like at a wedding, right? Like they have a baby or a graduation or a family member has a birthday, like that's, it's easy transition for you.
Yeah, it is. And I'm grateful to say that that often happens, you know. So there's a ripple effect of we begin the relationship with the wedding perhaps and then, trickle out to other occasions through the year. So you're absolutely right.
I want to ask you about okay, so there's a lot of great brides and corporate clients and floral clients, but okay, I want to ask you about the difficult clients, especially as being a creative. Like, okay,
Okay.
so your work shows crave it, you know, it's for crave occasions, but also you have to do kind of what your client wants as well. How do you approach those situations where you have a difficult customer, difficult client who wants a specific vision for their floor arrangement or their event, and you're like, this is not going to be a good representation of my business? How do you handle the difficult projects like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, I will say that I have fired clients in the past. Not
Mm,
I've maybe two in my career, but that if I just feel like that it's the relationship part of it is not where it needs to be, I will step back from that.
okay.
Apart from that, and thankfully, like I said, that's only happened twice I can think of in my career. But yeah, yeah. Um, Apart from that, it's really I think especially with event work, people in the general populace are not educated about the process. So they really
Mm,
don't know much about what we do. They know that we show up with pretty flowers, but to get there, they don't know much about that. So a lot of what we do and a lot of what I do in working with the client is education. So I'm
mm,
telling them about the process, I'm telling them about things that happen. And so at that point, then you begin to build trust into your relationship because they realize that you're the expert. So at that point, then I would say to them, have you thought about doing this
mm,
instead? I'd like to show you another option that I think may achieve what you're trying to achieve, that may end up with better results.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I work those clients who are like,
Mm-hmm.
hell bent on using turquoise and hot pink and orange in their color scheme, and or whatever the case may be. And look at this, I'm wearing a turquoise blue shirt with an orange background. Um,
Love it.
um, but it's simply that, really. Can I tell you a funny story about that?
Yes,
I
please.
did have a great client who had a very specific image and concept for what she wanted her wedding to be.
Hmm.
She was in a venue that didn't particularly match with that. Okay,
Okay.
so the venue was a little bit more rustic. She really wanted this sort of more tropical kind of vibe,
Okay.
and she loved Gerber daisies. And so, what we did her look. It was a beautiful look. It worked together well. It wasn't the best fit with the venue. The venue
Mhm.
manager came up to me and said, "What are you doing?" And this is the day of the wedding. And I said, "What do you mean? What am I doing?" "I'm delivering this bride's beautiful flowers." And he said, "Yeah, but it's not right for here." And I said, "I frankly don't care if it's right for here or not. It's what she wants."
Mm.
And he said to me, "There is a time to tell the client no." And I said, "You know what? I disagree with you. I think there's a way to be honest with the client, but there's never a time when I would want to tell the client no.
Mm.
I may try to change their mind. I may try to offer them other options, but I won't say no."
Mhm.
So that's another kind of mantra about how to deal with difficult people, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's true because like at the end of the day, she's paying, she's a customer, and it's not like she's asking for anything that's like out of the realm of what you do or anything that would be not okay, not
Right.
PC. Like she just wanted this specific thing. It's like I do think there's like as creative sometimes it can be like you want to control, right? You want to control some of that stuff because it is part of us expressing ourselves too. But at the end of the day, like you just have to like roll with it too. Like it can be difficult. I can understand that, but it's not. We're not like doing brain surgery here or anything.
Yeah, yeah. And while it's a reflection on me, because it's my business, are there people who looked at the pictures from that wedding and thought, "Oh, what was he thinking?" Maybe, maybe. But
Maybe.
what about all the people that she told how happy
Right.
she was?
Yeah.
That to me
Right.
means more um,
Yeah.
than the naysayers who looked at the pictures on Instagram and said, "Oh, this was what was yeah, it just didn't work." Maybe, but the client was really happy. The
Yeah.
client's
They,
family was happy. I'm still friends with the client's family,
oh, yeah.
so,
Because
it was a win. It was a win.
and you are representing your business obviously, but you're representing Mark as a brand. And I think that's important for people to remember like as leaders, as business owners, as employees, like at the end of the day, you are still representing yourself as a brand. Like the company can come and go. You want it to be a good representation of the company, but you want to also represent Mark well too. You want to have that, like you're saying with your clients, that you want to work with them well and have that good relationship with them.
Yeah. Oh, that's very true. That's very true. In fact, I think sometimes a bit of a problem that there becomes like no line between who Creative Occasions is and who Mark Frye is.
Mm, yeah,
And so sometimes I would like a little more separation, but really, 30 years in, yeah, it's not going
right. It's not.
to
That's true. That's true. I want to ask you about in your business. And I know this is very broad because you've been doing it for a while, but when you think back to all the things you've done from a marketing perspective, is there one that stands out? And it could be small, it could be large, that you thought was the most impactful. Maybe it wasn't at the time, maybe you saw some progress or the results of that later on. But is there one that stands out to you?
um, well, I think early on, it would have been participating in bridal shows,
Hmm.
because most of the other, like, I hate to say this, but like regular flower shops. So most of the other full time flower shops in our area really didn't do wedding shows.
Okay.
It was mostly the Basement Betties who were there. As a full time flower shop owner, I felt it was still important for us to be there and to market our business as, yes, we can deliver your funeral flowers, we can deliver your birthday flowers, but we can also deliver an amazing wedding for you too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think early on that was what sort of added to and supported the reputation that we had for weddings. There is one specific photo shoot that I did in Lynchburg about 2 years ago, and um, it's interesting because when I was first approached to do that, I almost felt like that it was over my head. I almost
Mm-hmm.
felt like, ooh, this is going to be. But I also, at the same time, was looking forward to the challenge of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a full day shoot. There were flips involved. There were other photographers who came and who shot the images for their portfolios. It also added a lot to our portfolio. And I got to tell you that shoot is one of the few that I can think has really had this ripple effect of lots of positive focus on the business. It's led to other event work. So that one is one that stands out as one. Um, and an important piece of that for me was, a lot of times with photo shoots, florists in particular get asked to do that as a free thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're going to get all these amazing images, blah blah blah. You get all the PR, and we want you to do it for free. I think that we should still be compensated somehow in our
Mm-hmm.
industry for doing things like that. And so, with this particular group that hosted that, I said that, and they agreed, and so I was actually paid for that photo shoot as well. It was with a very heavy discount, but
Mm-hmm.
still, it allowed me to cover the costs of my staff and the product and those kind of things. So that's just one instance at least that kind of comes to mind. That was a really cool, fun thing that has led to some other good stuff.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That was a big part. I don't know if they're still done as much today, but I remember in the like you mentioned the wedding industry, a lot of professionals would come and do this photo shoot, and it would be catering, and there would be bridal gowns and tuxes and flowers, and the photographers would come, and there'd be a whole
Yeah,
setup, rentals, and that's a great way to just kind of control the elements and have this overall look and feel, but also the photographers could use it, like you mentioned, for the portfolio. Videographers would come, so like so many vendors benefited from it and was able to get some really great content. And that wasn't, I remember it wasn't always done with like magazines or publications, but publications would also like do that as well. And I
yes,
forgot
yes,
that was a great idea for businesses to come together to work on a project to get some great content out of it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And okay, so you launched a YouTube series. I call it a YouTube series, but it was basically a content series called Blossoms and Bourbon. You did that, what, 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah, about 3 years ago. Yeah.
And this lived on mostly on YouTube. It was a lot of video content. And this was created from some of your obviously florals, blossoms, but bourbon.
Yeah.
Let's talk
Yeah.
about that. So
Oh
why
yeah.
blossoms and bourbon?
Well, it's interesting. I had the opportunity 2 years in a row actually to be a volunteer decorator at the White House. And prior to that, I had really in my mind sort of was thinking retirement, thinking, okay, I'm going to
Mm,
phase out now. Had the opportunity to do the White House. And honestly, when I came back from that, I was around so many creative people, and it was just such an energizing and really positive experience that when I came home, I thought, I'm not done. I
mhm,
really feel like I have a lot left to give.
mhm,
And having been in business for as long as I have, I know stuff. And it's like, how can I share that? So
mhm,
the idea of a YouTube series came up, and I started doing some research, my due diligence on other series. There were lots and lots, and there still are lots and lots of floral tutorials. You can just, throw a coin and see all kinds of them. But
mhm,
I wanted to differentiate mine from those in some way. And I also wanted to let people get to know who I am. And so I'm a bourbon guy and I like bourbon. So the alliteration of Blossoms and Bourbon was appealing. And the idea was that we would do a floral tutorial, a technique, show some design style, but then also do a bourbon tasting as part of each episode.
Mm.
And so that's really where that came from. I think we ended up filming 90, almost maybe 95 episodes. Um, we posted them every 2 weeks. Um, and, had great interaction and feedback from people really around the world who had stumbled on the channel and found it and said, "Oh gosh, you're great at, explaining how you do things. And I'm watching from Southeast Asia." And, just things like that that were so fun and really pretty amazing.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That's 95. That is awesome. And you
It was a
like
lot.
you worked with a videographer though, right? You weren't doing all this on your own, right?
Correct. No, no, no.
Okay.
And that was, again, one thing that I noticed early on was the very iPhone-ish quality of some of those video series that
Mhm.
I saw. And I knew that I didn't want that. I wanted it to be professional. And so I hired a videographer who came and set up lighting and multiple cameras here in my workshop at the shop. And so we shot all the episodes here with him doing great work. I mean, he did such beautiful work and really
Mhm.
focused on the lighting and how best to enhance not only this old face but also the product and you know. So it was just a pleasure working with him.
And so when launching this, you mentioned your passion for bourbon and then tying that back into the blossom. So very unique angle, like you mentioned that other florists weren't doing. Was your goal ultimately to like just grow the awareness of crave occasions outside of your location, or what was your ultimate goal with the series?
That's really funny you should ask that because I think starting out my goal was just to have fun.
Oh, okay.
And I did that. I mean, I achieved that with episode one. That was it was always fun. It was always planning the content, planning the color schemes, how that was going to work out. So yeah, that was part of it. Then um, I have a friend who is, or he at least was at that time, um, an evening anchor for
Mm.
the CBS News affiliate in DC. And he saw the first episode. He called me and he said, "Dude, you're really good. This is amazing. I love this." He also ran a small production company on the side. He
Mhm.
said, "I really think that you could land somewhere like Magnolia Network or, one of those places where they have these tutorial kind of shows with people who are like you and engaging and, can speak to the camera and speak to an audience."
Mhm.
So I'll be honest, in the first year completely, I had that in the back of my mind the whole time. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
let's just roll along with this and see what
Mhm.
happens. Um, it was very slow growth. It seemed like it took forever to get to 1,000 subscribers.
Mm.
And then we jumped to 1,500, we jumped to 2,000. And I think right now, the channel's somewhere around 4,000, 4,200, something
Oh,
like that.
wow. Mhm.
So, over the course of 3 years, I guess that's not bad. But I was looking for a swell of, let's get to
Mhm.
15,000 and really get somebody's attention, and those kind of things. So um, that never happened. That never came to fruition. I began to look at the finances of it, apart from having fun. The return on investment based on what I was spending was just not there.
Mhm.
So for the current time, we have stopped filming. So there are no new episodes going up. But it's one of those things I have no regrets about. I don't
Mhm.
regret spending that money. It was fun. I just had to make the business decision not to spend that money anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And you were when you were saying spending the money, it was mostly for videography and editing, right? You weren't doing any paid boosting or ads.
No, no.
Yeah.
Mostly, yeah, the videography and editing, and then a small portion for product containers. Things that I
Okay.
would feature on the episodes.
Yeah. And I think that what you hit on was you started something because you were passionate about it, right? You want, I think, as a creative and just as uh, all of us are working in our business, but sometimes you want a fun project that breaks from that. And you stayed with it for years, which I think is huge for a lot of businesses think, let's try something one time. Oh, it didn't work, we're going to stop. When
Mhm.
a lot of it is repetition, being consistent, but also optimizing, changing things up depending on your goal. And your goal was to have fun. So I think it's so like just a good example of breaking free of like not everything has to be eventually, like you said, you have to have ROI because it's an expense, but sometimes you just do stuff because you need it. You need it and your team needs it, and that's okay.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And, for coming back from the White House experience and doing that was the thing I needed. That's the
Yeah.
best way to say it. It was the thing I needed at that moment to give me another creative channel, another
Mhm.
outlet for what I do, but also a way to engage with people and be able to share that with them. We did a few episodes where we actually invited people here to the shop to watch in the background. And
Oh,
oh my gosh, that was so much fun. And if you pay close attention, you can tell which episodes those are because I'm always a little more loose and always like, oh, and where Jason Collins with Simple Times Photography did the video,
oh.
and he is amazing. But he did such a great job of editing, you really can't tell a lot of that. But we were chatting and laughing, and you were having a great time.
I love that.
But
You
yeah,
had an audience.
that's right. That's right. Somebody suggested at one point that we sell tickets, and I was like, I'm just not sure that would happen.
Like, whoa, whoa, whoa. One thing
Right,
at a
right,
time.
right. But
That,
I do think it was important to try. I think it
yeah,
was important just to, put myself in a place that was a little uncomfortable. It was a
yeah.
little like, I don't know how this is going to go. Um, and fortunately, during that time, I was able to cover the expense of that. So, I realize that that's something that not everybody can say. So I
Yeah.
feel very fortunate that that was the case. Um, but then in retrospect, as I was looking forward and thinking about some other opportunities or other challenges, things I wanted to do, it's like, do I spend the money on this or do I now
Mhm.
channel the money toward this? So,
Right. Yeah.
um,
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And I think a lot of that, like you mentioned, being uncomfortable pushing yourself, it's like that, whatever, because of Blossoms and Bourbon, that could be preparing you for whatever's to come next. Or maybe there's an opportunity that'll come and you'll be ready for it because you did take on that project.
absolutely. Well, something I didn't touch on early on, but I feel now that you've said that is important. Early in my career, I was a speech pathologist. I have 2 degrees in speech
Oh.
pathology. I left that job and became a lumber and plywood salesman for 13 years. It was during, right. So it was during that time that I started doing flowers from home, right? And lumber and plywood are commodities markets. And so
Mm-hmm.
the price fluctuates based on supply, demand, all those things. Guess what? Flowers are a commodity
Hmm.
and the price fluctuates based. So all of this stuff that has happened to me has just really prepared me for here.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's a God moment because it's truly, I feel like this is the place I was meant to be. And all that was just preparing me to get up there. It took a minute, but, it ended up here and that's good.
Oh, wow. That's, wow, what a journey. Speed pathologist to selling lumber to being a florist.
Right, right.
That is a lot of experience and knowledge. Yes, I love that. That's like,
Absolutely.
let's just try.
That's right. That's right. You never know.
Yes. Well, I'd love to do a quick round of questions with you. Quick fire.
Okay.
Right. And
Okay.
I'm just going to ask you like a couple of different questions. They don't have to be one word answers, but we'll get started with okay, peonies or roses?
Oh, peonies.
Soft, fluffy peonies. Do you have a favorite color?
The really bright bubblegum pink.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
Like this.
That's it. That's it. It's like you knew.
That's it. Are you a sweet or salty person?
Oh, sweet.
Okay.
1,000 times. I've said many times I would rather have dessert than the meal.
Oh, yes. I'm right there with you. I think that's like one of the best parts of being an adult is we could have like dessert for dinner if we really wanted to.
Absolutely.
No
Absolutely.
judgment. Nobody cares.
And then just keep buying new clothes.
I know you're typically not at weddings for the wedding cake, but I bet you would have been able to just enjoy that moment so much over the years.
Oh, heck yeah.
If you had one superpower, what would it be?
Oh. Oh, that's hard. Um, okay, so I think right now, my superpower would be that I would make everybody be kind to each other.
Oh,
Um, I just feel like we're missing that,
hmm
and an important part of what we do in my industry is we share emotions through flowers. So if
hmm
people call and they want to order something because it's a birthday wish they were trying to send, or a friend passed away, they want to send a sympathy wish. So I guess I get, daily involved in how it is that we, translate emotions for people. So um, I think we're missing kindness. I think, and so, yeah, my superpower would be to make everybody kind to each other.
Yeah, and that includes ourselves too, right?
That's
Like,
right. That's
and the
right.
people close to us. Sometimes I feel like it's easy to be least kind to ourselves and the people we're closest to because they just know us, and it's just easier to like brush stuff off. But it's like those are the people that deserve it the most sometimes.
You are 1,000 times right about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh. Okay, one last question. I know this
Okay.
isn't an easy one because now you have to go back into your files of history.
Oh, Lord.
The best advice you've ever received.
Oh, from my dad.
Oh.
My dad said, never ask someone who works for you to do something that you wouldn't do yourself.
Mm.
And
Oh,
that's just obviously today that still comes
yeah.
back to me. So I'm not going to ask somebody to clean the toilet if I wouldn't also clean the toilet.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's some of the best advice I've ever gotten.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's the first thing I thought about, and I was like, but also like not putting your employee in a difficult situation where maybe they're having to communicate something to that's difficult to a customer, or that should come from you, or you're asking them to do something that's not really that great for them to be doing. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's really good advice.
yeah, yeah. I think so too. I think so too.
I think
He
it's
was a good
the
man.
was it the CEO of Disney World? Bob Iger, I believe. He was known, I can't remember if it was him or another CEO that was known for like, if they were walking through the parking lot and they saw trash, they'd pick it up. It was him or home, I can't remember the CEO, but I was like, yeah, I mean, like, if they're a CEO and they're picking up trash too, like, we all can do that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so lead by example. That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's so important. Well, Mark, thank you so much for joining me today. It was great to talk with you. I'm going to link your website in the description of this video,
Thank you.
and I am just so excited to catch up with you. And I know you're getting ready to start wedding season here soon. Full speed
Yeah.
ahead, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Fasten your seatbelt.
Well, thank you guys for joining us for another episode of What Am I Even Doing? I'm Tara Lily, Mark Frye, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.